Welcome to Pole Shift News, guys. It's Monday morning. We've got the whole week ahead of us. I've just been sitting here thinking, how can I encourage a few more of you guys to help support what we do here? And there isn't really anything else more than what I do already that I can do to encourage that. I just think at the end of the day, you know what? I've done my bit. The link's there. If someone wants to support it, they can. Maybe God might influence them later on in the day to support it. Who knows? But let's move on with the topic of the day. Is really this chart. I've seen this chart on another video on YouTube. I managed to find where it came from. What it is, it's we're looking at ice core data going back over the last 11,000 years. Remember, 11,000 years ago, we just came out of the last glacial period. I've predicted that we're not just going to stay in this ice age that we're in at the moment. And yes, might be news to a few of you that we've never really been out of an ice age. We're still in one, according to the temperature records. But what we might be moving into, I think it's very likely, looking at this chart, at least for the last 3,500 years, is entering a new glacial period. And we do go interglacial periods, and we go into periods of time where we get interglacial periods. So it's not uncommon for the temperature history of this Earth to go interglacial periods. What we can see, and this is really what I wanted to talk about, is over the last 3,500 years, on this chart, it's marked the end of some of the empires that have been. For one, you can see straight away the Roman Empire. There was warm periods, which are these peaks here. One here around 3,500 years ago, then 2,000 years ago, and then 1,000 years, and we've come to the end of another peak or another warm period. And guys, as well as I do, the sunspots are dropping off in numbers, and as a result of that, we're going to get a grand solar minimum come back in, and that's going to drive the temperatures down. But when it's happened before in our history, and it's almost like every 1,000-year cycles that this has happened, it's brought about the end of an empire, such as the Egyptian Empire, the Roman Empire, the Viking era, and so on and so forth. So what happens when we get these prolonged cold periods? For some reason, civilization at that time seems to break down. I think we're seeing early signs of it already. And if you visit other YouTube channels, you'll see them talking about now farmland going offline because it's unfarmable. And that means that with the 7 billion people on this planet at the moment, food is going to become more scarce, and that with the 7 billion people isn't a good combination. We're already seeing migrants move from the countries that they're in because of the problems that they're facing now. As a direct result, I believe, of pole shift, first of all, causing climate chaos, and adding on top of that, grand solar minimums, such as what we're experiencing now. And guys, we are experiencing that for sure. You've seen the solar data over the last 3 solar cycles constantly heading towards the baseline. So we're already seeing, like I say, farmlands going offline. I watched a video the other day, the ice age farmer, I think it is, and he showed a video of someone with an ice till or snow till trying to break up the snow surface so that they could get a bit of heat into the ground and perhaps thaw some of that snow quicker, and then he could get on with his cropping season. But modern day farmers are not like they used to be. They wouldn't spend what they didn't have, but nowadays they've got no choice because modern farming isn't cheap. When you look at combine harvesters, they're £1 million, and they can make a lot of work easier. And the only way they can buy stuff like that is by taking loans out and securing it on the farm. So can you imagine what happens when they have shortened cropping seasons? Their purse strings pucker up a little bit, and they hope and pray that they're able to get the seeds in the ground and that them seeds are successful in order to just pay the bills, just like we do, go to work every day. It's gonna go it's gonna be hard from this point on, and as you've seen, what will be the end result will be another collapse of a modern society, and I think it'll come about a lot quicker for us. The end will, at some point. I think we're going to see it in our future, and certainly our children are going to be living in the not too distant future in a different world. Whether it will go like we've seen in some of the films like Mad Max, and everyone will go out for themselves, I mean, I think it's possible, but I think we're going to go offline a lot quicker than what the Roman Empire did, simply because of how much dependent we are on technology, and it really is easier to dismantle a modern society as opposed to dismantling something like the Roman Empire back in the day. And the reason for that is because, I mean, let's face it, they only had at their height of technology, chariots and horses and swords. But when you compare that to what we have today in this modern society, and how vulnerable we are to being dependent on what we have, such as the grid, for instance, if the grid goes down, that will bring the collapse of a country in a matter of a couple of weeks. There will be no law and order in that scenario. And I think, like I've said before, we're in the gauntlet, and the obstacles we've managed to avoid for quite a period of time, but now we've hit one of them, and now we've started to bounce off the others. We're no longer able to avoid them, and I think signs of that are, when you start seeing farmland going offline, there'll be a knock-on effect. Once a farmer doesn't make his repayments on his equipment or the loans that he's taken out, it will be his farm that will go. And we've seen this in India with all those farmers every week, losing the land because of the investments they made with Monsanto and the promise that these seeds would grow for them, and they didn't. And inevitably they lose the farmland that's been in their families for hundreds, if not even 1,000 years. We're going to start seeing this in the Western world, and I think we're already about to start seeing some of these big farms go offline as a result of not being able to make the repayments due to a knock-on effect that the weather's had and dealt them, a bad season. And, I think the signs are already there, guys. I'll give you for instance, last Friday, if you were in the UK, did you notice the sun dogs at the side of the sun again? I've been saying to people, we never had these 6 years ago in this country, and they don't usually occur at this latitude. These are more common in the Arctic Circle, and the reason why we're seeing them at this latitude is because there is ice crystals in the atmosphere, and that is because it is cooling down this Earth. And I think, like I've said before, we're heading into a glacial period. And it's not uncommon that we do get interglacial periods and glacial periods. If you look in the temperature record, you'll see that we've had these thousands of times. It's just bad luck for us, guys, that we are going through a period which is probably going to lead eventually to another glacial period. And all the technological advancements and marvels that we've achieved over the last 100 years are going to disappear for the same reasons they disappeared in the Viking era, the Roman era, the Egyptian era, and all the other empires before that, and dynasties. So, what we were looking at here really wasn't, the summit of Greenland's ice sheet and data from the core sample. We were actually looking at a crystal ball, which has showed us the history, and it will dictate the future. I guarantee you guys, what has happened in the past to these empires is going to happen to this modern day era and life that we have. And, smartphones were never meant to last forever. The internet was never meant to be there forever. And, these things, I know it will be a shock to some of you, are going to disappear and probably do so in your lifetimes. And I think I'll end the video here, guys. I'll just mention that there's a link there. It'd be absolutely great if a few more of you guys out there could support it. I think what we do is, make some awareness of this situation, which is, coming along. And, we give people probably an option. Maybe even if they just think about it, they could probably not be the first to go down, just like some of these farms are now going offline. So, the link's there. And I'll say what I usually do. Take care. I'll probably catch up with you in the week sometime. And as always, bye for now.